Yo, welcome back, or welcome to portfolio review session number 2 on this beautiful Friday morning, or your appropriate time zone, if you will. But yeah, yesterday we did our first one. So in case you might have missed it, the VOD will be there in the near future. So look out for that one. And yeah, I think let's go straight into it. And I'm seeing that you're already in chat. And yeah, let's go to Wealth Ducks first. Um, should I go by Mayul or Wealth Ducks actually? Because make sure that it I address you properly, right? But like in any case, I would say like on first impression, I think the first thing I would maybe what I would address is that you have like a lot of like modeling work in there, but given that like your title is Mayo, okay, gotcha. So like given that you already have like real-time VFX artists in your name, and there's lots of 3D work here, I would maybe, for context, hide this so there's no like real confusion there as to like what it is you're hiring when you're basically looking at everything. And I think for the rest, it's just like fundamentally just very strong work. But I think the only like let's say feedback I would have is more so just for contextual like improvements, if you will. Because like one that stood out here, for example, because like we can start with this one. If it wants to load first. Yes, there we go. I see. Yeah, that's real nice recreation. Because I see, for example, that it is just very fundamentally strong in terms of its timing. Like feels very snappy. You can see like the overall shapes like do feel really nice. Kind of how they usually do this is just very basic shapes, so you can really see like okay, you can sort of differentiate between what is what. I would say here you can kind of see, for example, see the soft let's say the soft wind effects, for example. Something that I see that they would use in CCC as well, but for example here, this is like very harsh in comparison. So I would say to also match that in a sense, gives it also that like extra sense of speed that it's like moving away. You see it's sort of starting to double up. So if there's a way to maybe make this tileable or something where it's a bit more generic, then there is a little bit more leeway as to, let's say, if you can give it like some different shapes by maybe just overlaying with maybe some like another noise, or maybe something that reshapes it just a little bit, but makes it so that it doesn't lose its overall like visual language, if you will. So you also can kind of see it starts to pop a little bit, like it pops out like that. And like in from what I know, it in context the like in CCC it feels like a lot softer in that sense. So it's probably the case that it's a bit harder to judge as to like how you can make that animation work for you. Like I also, for example, know that it is like animation wise it's not fully lining up, but like right here it is doing the slash. Something was bothering me with that smoke. Thanks for pointing that out. Okay, no problem. I see that, for example, the yeah, there's given how fast this like this character was moving, it's of course makes a little bit more sense to basically hide it, so you sort of insinuate sort of the whole speed of everything. Like I think I can somewhat see that some of the elements are shining through a little bit. So if there's a way to maybe make like hide it a little bit more, because it is really nicely recreated as to the sort of layering you have. Really nice, like emphasis on the like highest values here. So you're really sort of insinuating like, okay, this is the like the part that does the most damage. Like right here, I guess it's sort of the same, same like feedback point I have on like the smoke that was sort of pointed towards in the previous shot. Because for example, something you can do is maybe look into like the pixel depth offset and maybe basically make sort of like a height map of your or something that is like resembling like a height map. So so you can kind of get rid of this like straight line right here. So the height map makes it so that in the pixel depth offset it will like push like all pixels sort of forward. So it looks like this card right here has a little bit more depth to it, like in some topology. And I think also softening these out and maybe make it a little bit more or less like opaque, if you will. I think that can already help here. So let me see in context again. Yeah, because the one right here, like the smoke here, that feels like a little bit more sort of what I kind of would expect. Would the depth fade node work? Yeah, it depends. Like it depends a bit because you can, for example, say that you basically can also input a texture for a little bit of breakup, so it will then kind of how it sort of works is that, for example, you like if you maybe switch to like a canvas here, if you can do this real quick. And yoink. So imagine if you were to have, let's say, a like a surface. And then you have, let's say, a plane. Like the depth fade will usually then check the intersection of this plane with this one, and then it will blend like the pixel amount that was sort of given here. This is like a uniform amount, so that's why you will most likely see that you will have this like harder line right here, like right here. But what kind of the pixel depth offset does is that it will basically just offset the pixels more to, let's say, you can kind of imagine it to be like a well position offset, but then on the pixel level. Sort of very, very rudimentary, like roughly speaking. Because then instead of like this very like straight line, erase this. Because given that you're sort of inputting this height map, right? Because then, let's say you have like card. Show pencil. So if for example have like a height map like this, let's see, maybe just think very soft. Yeah, just imagine something like this, right? Because then on the actual surface itself, it will then sort of look like the pixels right here will be pushed forward the most. So then on the ground, it will look something like this. And given it's already camera facing, so it already looks like it has a little bit more depth to it. And if you make it a little bit more irregular, for example, then you really get sort of that feeling that is, just this volume of smoke, right? And I don't think that CZ in particular did something like this, but it could, for example, be the case that you can give it some basic lighting to sort of by basically let the letting the material already making some spherical numbers for you. Like that way you can get some basic lighting in, but it's not really yeah, I don't really have it on hand right now, but let me see. Let me make a mental note for this to see if I can maybe send this to you like later in the DMs, if that's possible. Yeah, it's really cool for like those types of like sort of this like faking of depth, if you will. But yeah, I think with that, it's more so in the contextual sense, is that with stuff like this, you can, for example, see right here that the like the camera placement can also have some kind of effect on if it contextually kind of feels right. Because like right here, it can sort of feel good. But for example, if it's really like, let's say very important that you have very clear vision as to what you're kind of doing, maybe then the making sort of that impact a lot smaller could be like a good thing. This is more like a context thing, right? Because that makes me kind of think of how you kind of maybe think of, for example, Valorant, right? That like on a sort of initial viewing, it feels like the muzzle flashes and impacts are like, not per se the impacts, but the muzzle flashes in particular are very small. And that's just for a good reason, as to that you always want to have some clear vision, like as to what you, like where your enemies are and where you're shooting, because it's very snappy, right? That's maybe also something to consider for if you look at it from like the gameplay perspective, right? So yeah, that's some very, very minor things, but that was already very good looking. This is for this one, it's very minor, because given how fast this is going, I think this lingering energy right here is just a bit too slow. Just imagine that that any energy input is then also that needs to be transferred to the same like energy outputted, right? Because like in that sense, if you then go this fast and it's like it stops this fast, like it goes this slow, it feels a little bit off in terms of the momentum transfer. I like how. Oh man. Just saw a comment, but thank you so much. But basically the whole transfer of energy then kind of feels a little bit off, if that makes sense. Because the rest is carrying that through like really well. All the debris and all the all the energy that's moving backwards right here. See where it was. Like right here, that's really good. And also the smoke that's moving outwards. So that's just a very minor thing. This one, just wanted to just to say that this one was just looking really nice. Think that feels very snappy as to like the way the timing works. I think yeah, this is like some very minute things, right? Because it's not maybe very visible here. Let's see. The switch around again. Like the thing that I kind of saw here was that the like this card right here was kind of meant to sort of be camera facing, or at least it is velocity aligned, or at least like aligned to a custom vector. Yeah, when you do that, I guess you just want to make sure that it's then not really breaking apart when you look at it like right from the front, right? Because from this angle, that this really works. But yeah, just keep that in mind for like when, let's say, you have camera situations where this is more of an issue. Yeah, more of an issue, if you will. Yeah, I guess for the rest, the maybe some minute details could be there. Could be some extra like sparks coming off the ground, just maybe in some places for where all the bullet holes are. You could maybe stagger the glow fade out a little bit, because it kind of looks right now that everything is cooling off at the same time. If that makes sense, right? Yeah, because you can also kind of see, maybe if you look at the smoke, when it goes upwards, it starts to look a little bit flat, and it's that's kind of what I was alluding to at first. So yeah, just the overall texture quality that's just really nice to see, and yeah, also really good. Yeah, for this one, it was basically something very minute as well, but you can kind of do you kind of see here how these like blood strings feel very local spacey, if you will? So like when it's rising from the ground, I would maybe say that you give it a little bit more like fluidity, and right now it almost feels like you have, let's say, strings that are sort of like coming out. Thank you so much to VFXy Super Snappy Bubble for the 5. Thank you so much. But yeah, it's almost looks a little bit like it's looking like strings. And I think could be nice if you have also a little bit more momentum on, let's say, like what you have here for the sims. Yeah, kind of also expect that some of like the fluids are flying off the blood as well, or just the hand, or maybe that you have a little more like staggering in the way it sort of starts to drip. Because yeah, I guess that's the only thing really. And I think as well here that given how how gory this is, almost kind of expected to be a little messier, as gruesome as this sounds. But yeah, I think that's the only points really for this one. Actually, I think I could go to this one like real quick, because I saw this one was like the freshest out of the whole bunch. Yeah, posted yesterday. Yeah, look at that. Because for example, right here, if it's possible to see. This is kind of the way it sort of starts off, and I think you can already start with maybe like a very like a much bigger of like impact, yeah, let's say source, if you will. And I think that could also maybe just be a good like moment to have like just a flash that's very bright to give it a little bit more snappiness. Because then you kind of see that a lot of the, let's say, heat energy is being lost a little bit too quickly, at least kind of what it feels like. And then, yeah, for the way it sort of lingers about, that's really nice to see. Yeah, I think for the rest, there could also, yeah, given the environment and context is placed in, I would maybe say, yeah, there could maybe be some crater there, some extra sand that's being blown up. Maybe even some, like, I think even more debris that could sort of be falling down still, maybe a couple seconds later. Yeah, something, yeah, maybe just some things to consider there. But yeah, I think that's all I really had to say for now. But yeah, this is overall really nice stuff. And yeah, thank you so much for the entries. And yeah, let's get on to the next one, Alexei. Now first off, I do really see that you really have like a good knack for destructibles and yeah, the explosions. So I think I can already maybe say that everything from the Plot of Heroes series here, I would maybe consolidate this as well, because it's a little bit mixed as to how many entries you have. Because for example, right here, this is the only entry here for the magic. I think you probably wanted to have it sort of like separated by like category of what you did. But I think as well that given the way the portfolio is structured, there's also like a lot of ambient effects in this, and I think in the grander scheme of things that if I were to look at this, I think the something along the realms of what you did for your latest project, something, let's say, a bit more sequenced, or maybe just with a little bit more phases in them, I think that could help and flesh things out a little more, because that sort of counterbalances the amount of ambient things you have. Because for example, if we go by this, there's a lot of, I would say, something in the similar realms of, you know, like subject matter, because you already have fire here. If it wants to load, yeah, there's again more ambient effects as well. Yeah, there's maybe something to consider there. I think I just wanted to start off with this one. Yeah, this is kind of maybe a point as to, yeah, maybe in terms of presentation, right? Because I would assume that maybe this is the in-game view if you just look at it from the, like initial viewing. But it's very hard to see where it's can be a bit hard to see, because it's more so that it's really putting more focus on the environment instead of the character. And then maybe just this a bit of an unfortunate camera placement that could that is maybe working against it, if that makes sense. Because right here it starts it gives it more context here, and yeah, this already feels like a lot better, or more so not better, but you know, this just feels really nice to see. It's not, I think, in the context of what you're maybe going for, or this is what I would assume, is that to not go overly bright here, which again I can understand. This because otherwise it gets maybe a little bit hard to look at. I see it's not really showing here, but let's see. Yeah, I think you went more for more subtle things, and I think that's good by itself. Like if you go back here though, I see, yeah, maybe just in context, it feels a little bit like, if I scooch it down a little bit. Yeah, I would maybe say that it is kind of a bit strange as to how much light this emits for the amount of fire that's present here. I guess this was intended as more of a focal point, but yeah, it's only, let's say, ambient lighting, and I think it just really, I think only like illuminates everything around the rims. Yeah, for this one, I think this is a bit of the opposite problem, because I see there is like, let's say, an insinuation of like a light source that's coming off here, but it's not really alive, as in that it feels like it's like flickering a little bit more as to the way the the fire is kind of moving. As well as I think there could have been a lot more, let's say, bleed or let's say environment lighting on the actual like surface where it is placed on. So I think if I could maybe like grab this real quick. So for example, I would almost say that this could be like a lot more intense. Let's see. It just gives a little bit more detail to, let's say, the surrounding environment here. Yeah, a lot more like lighting here on the wood beams, like something right here. Given it's very foggy, I would assume that like the atmosphere also gets like a lot more illuminated. Yeah. And so it can kind of help to maybe illuminate a little bit more details in the like throughout the entire piece. So maybe, let's say, a little bit more soft lighting as well. Maybe ever so subtly to like light up the surrounding environment. So actually maybe blur this as well. Now I think you already have the like the modes in there as well, but I think it could be, for example, nice, like given its maybe it has just been like turned to dust, if you will. Could sometimes be very nice if you have like some really like bursts of like sparks. There are sometimes just like emanating from the flames, like some very detailed ones, sort of to insinuate that the air, or at least some, let's say, some pockets of like moisture get sort of, they sort of burst, and then that makes the sort of the wood like emanators like very high bursts of like embers, if you will. And I think actually for context, now I'm looking at it, it's also that I see that the smoke, if I were to go back here, yeah, the smoke is not really picking up much from the like the actual like fire as well. So given that I see there is a little bit of texture in there, insinuating that's a little bit more dense in terms of what the smoke kind of feels like. I also kind of expect there would be some more bleed lighting on there. So let's say some of the like more denser pockets of the smoke get highlighted a little bit more. And I think combined with sort of the overall, let's say, like a better integration of the light that's being emitted into the world, I think that can really help and make it feel, and make it feel like it sits a little bit more nicely, if that makes sense. If we go to this one, because I was also looking at this, in this also just really interesting to see like how far you took this. But I would personally say that there could be a couple of things that could be considered here. Because overall, the explosion was feeling really nice. Because let's say more conflagrating a little bit more, but I see, for example, here, like given the context it is in, I think the same, yeah, not really the same, but I would maybe consider that given it's, or at least it feels like it's more of a drier environment, I would maybe make it so that the smoke here lingers for maybe the entirety of the duration here. Maybe let's see, for 5 seconds or so. So it really has some like time to spread. And it's kind of the same because I'm kind of seeing here. That's maybe good. Hopefully, a good place to pause it. Like right here, you can kind of see that the light source is working well as like the bounce light on the mesh, but I'm not really seeing the same here for the smoke, if you will. It's kind of, I think what I would maybe do in your case is maybe integrate some like either a 6-sided like a 6-point lighting system for the shader, or maybe have it so that you have at least a like a similar sort of setup as to what I was insinuating with Mayo earlier, to activate the the sort of spherical normals there, so it gets a little bit of lighting at least from the general direction, so that it will integrate a little bit more more properly into the overall effect, if you will. And let's see, because I also, this is maybe not really, I think, really that visible on screen. But if you were to sort of pay attention right here, I think overall the way it's lighting up feels somewhat all right here, but I think I would maybe just let it like be a bit more intense on just the explosion. So that really just gives that extra pop of like energy, if you will. If you want to be like very fancy, maybe you could also have a look as to see how you could make the leaves and the grass move when the explosion happens. Yeah, I'm just for context, I'm just mostly going off the description here, and it was basically saying that it was aimed to create a believable gas clean explosion that could work in context of fast-paced gameplay. So kind of sort of judging it based on that, if you will, but yeah. But just to go back to it, I think overall that you really had some nice debris here. See if it's maybe also possible to, let's say, on the very big pieces that you have, just some extra like or some trailing smoke here that's being scooped out once it sort of escapes the fireball. And let's say on places where, like for example right here, where it is then like bouncing off the ground again, also have some some dust impacts as well. Like on the smaller pieces, I do see that you really have some nicer, let's say, some lingering flames here. But I would say then, if you were to leave it as such, I think you could also maybe let the suit, or let's say let the decal here be spread out just a little bit more. And I think on top of that, just seeing that the like the little flames are like popping out maybe just a little bit too suddenly if you were to look at it a little bit more closely. I think something to consider as well, like given the size of the explosion, I think the overall movement of his of the flames feels a little bit kind of on the slow side. Because slow fire usually means that it's very big. And yeah, if you were to, for example, look at like a campfire, right? You can sometimes see that the like the flames are faster than you think. So I would maybe say to maybe speed it up by maybe 30-ish%. I think that can already make it a little bit more believable, I would say. So yeah, well, actually to go back, but for us, it was already going in like a very, very good direction. But maybe that could be some things to consider here for, yeah, all those extra points could even add a little bit more realism to this. And that's also really nice here to see that breakdown right here. Yeah, what I wanted to say was here is that just all of these like extra things is of course really going to be dependent on of course how much time you have. But given I think this is a personal project that could be some things to consider as well to, yeah, all these little things that could maybe help and make this the overall effect just that extra 10% better. Maybe just all those small details that we maybe not really think about, but if you really look at them, you might see them. And this also sort of harkens back to maybe like when you're in sort of this personal project situation where you're like, how many questions can I sort of answer before and when I start working on this on whatever it is that you're kind of working on? That can make it so that if you sort of answer these questions yourself like very well, then that means you also understand the whole subject like pretty well as well. And yeah, that's really of course very different for each project, but I would really implore that you would sort of like explore that beforehand, because if you've done all of that work before, then I think the overall process of it will become like a lot smoother, and I think it will become a lot less likely you sort of like bonk your head against like, okay, why is this not working? Of course, with a little bit of nuance there, that it's not always foolproof, but I think it gets you there for like pretty far. And looking at it a little bit more now, I would say, yeah, this was kind of a bit again towards the lighting of the smoke, because you can kind of notice how maybe there's not really any bleed lighting like on the smoke here. So let's like maybe just for context, right? And just imagine that this light is then basically traveling through the smoke as kind of a medium. And the thicker the smoke is, the less likely the light will, sort of pass through it. If that makes sense, right? And yeah, just overall, the closer to the fire it is, the more of this like bleed lighting, like this more bleed lighting will be transferred towards it. Yeah, and depending on like how detailed you want it, you can have these details be a bit more more crisp, or maybe just a little bit softer, but that really depends on, of course, the whole subject matter. I guess just the final point here is if we were to look at the this right here, see the VFX reel. Yeah, and given it is posted 5 years ago, I don't really think it's gonna be like a lot, like really effective for, you know, what your what your current skill level is. I think that's like yeah, there's a lot of things that have changed, and I think I would maybe reconsider as well to see if you can then, yeah, rebalance this to maybe see if, yeah, if you want to, for example, go by like the effects you already had. Maybe find some projects where you could sort of recontextualize this to maybe your current standards. Because I'm kind of seeing now that you really have like somewhat of an exactly similar looking explosion, but the difference here is very stark. But if you were to look at it in a sort of a review context, then you will sort of get judged on the one that's from 5 years ago. So that's kind of what they say. The portfolio is only as good as your worst piece. So yeah, just something to look out for, I would say. Yeah. Thank you again for the entry, and let's go on to Valeria. Okay. Yeah, this is also a bit of, let's say, yeah, very contextual as to see what could maybe be sort of improved here. I think overall you have like a very yes, no problem. I think overall there's like lots of different yeah, you have like lots of different like subjects here. Seeing this from last year. It's from last year as well. This is like a lot more ambience. Yeah, seeing this is yeah. Also really good to have. Just simply having like having effects in context, like in context. So like this, that's so much better than the gray area, like the gray, like gray background areas with the spheres that are doing us like a good service, but you know, it can only go so far. If there's a way for you to do it, then it's, yeah, it's going to help a lot for your own work in the end, I would say. You know, just very simple and effective, like ambient effects. See here, it's a bit more stylized as well. Yeah, also again, really good to see this in context. Yeah, overall, just really cool to see that you have at least all of these things in context, right? It's I think just in general, I would maybe see if there's also something you could do with a little bit more of a sequenced effect. Something that has a like a very clear like build up, release, and sort of decay. Like it really overall sort of insinuates that the really sort of tailor made for like smaller studios. Not per se that it's like has to be that way, but I'm kind of seeing like this really like a really diverse portfolio that is really working well for, let's say, smaller teams. But of course, that it's kind of depending on what you would like to do, right? Kind of wanted to go for this one first because what I was kind of seeing here is maybe just a little bit of a, how do you say this, mismatch again in the momentum. So you could kind of see here, it is kind of insinuating that the like the whole like the yolk is almost like, it looks like it's baked, but the like the sort of wet surface underneath it is sort of insinuating that it's not. So it's kind of, I'll make it a little bit more like splashy, if you will. So like a lot more like splatter details everywhere. And yeah, the eggshells, I see it's just breaking in two, but the amount of momentum that's transferred is you kind of see that's really being lost here. I think you could maybe sort of do as well is to then let more of the like small fragments just like shatter all like in every direction. But just keeping in mind that the amount of momentum transferred is then also being carried through. Yeah, when you look at the ambient effects here, is that it's very very simple but effective again. I think for stuff like this as well is that just want to also make sure that of course this will stay very legible as well in a, let's say, very bright environment or something where you can kind of see already, oh, this is where the pickups lie. And like if God of War taught me anything, yellow is a really good leading color for, or at least in the context of God of War, the yellow was used a lot to lead the player like certain places. And if it's, for example, that this is the case that like all the pickups here are staying yellow, then that's a really good thing. But do really like make a clear distinction as to what is what. I think it's overall like very, let's say, if you were to look at this, it's very let's say overall ambient. You're gonna see that the like the feathers are moving away or sort of being held in stasis by some type of gravity field. But I would maybe vary up the speed of them and maybe let's say you have a little bit of like bob, like sort of like a bobbing motion, and see if you could also maybe make it spin a little bit more, maybe some faster than the others. But yeah, just a little bit of extra variation where it starts to feel a little bit more organic. Yeah, given it's also more in the stylized realm, or at least what it kind of looks like. Or actually, here you kind of see it again as to what I was kind of meaning. It's all moving sort of in unison with each other. But just breaking that up a little bit is, something you can do to really make it feel like a lot more organic, if that makes sense. Yeah, a little bit more context here. Yeah, given that I kind of see this also like in the stylized realm, I think it could also maybe be good to have let's say some extra, let's say some like smear trails maybe behind it. If we were to maybe grab this frame right here and switch things over. Yeah, so I do see that the whole barrel was kind of already moving, was already moved, but that's no problemo. So let's say something like it's a bit too much stabilization going on. Yeah, just a little bit more of like a speed trail of some kind. Really sort of insinuate like, okay, given it's almost like a bullet trail, you can also make it feel like a little bit more clear to see where like the projectile is going. Yeah, just to give that extra information towards the player. If you go back here, because I kind of see that that's really nicely done here, like very subtle. The only thing here is what I was seeing is that it is very subtle. See if there's a good place where it can be shown. Yeah, because it was kind of feeling. Well, it's not as visible as it is here as it is on the video, but like right here, you can kind of see like a very harsh line starting to form. It's not really enveloping the orb. So something you can maybe do here as well is then either make it so that you have like another element on top of this where you sort of blend this in. So maybe let's say I'm sorry. Yep, I was muted. My bad. Kind of what I was saying. The thing is that the like what I was saying actually was is that the trail here was sort of poking out here as having a very harsh line. But what you can sort of do is maybe have like an extra element or maybe something that's a little bit brighter to then basically make sure that you can sort of blend things out from this. Maybe it's a little bit more designed, if you will. Could maybe have a little bit more extra energy right here that's coming off of this as well. The like something that could maybe be done as well is to, or actually the thing is that if you then were to adjust this towards the new like brightness, I would also make sure that you didn't also reflect this in the environment. Yeah, but that's something to consider there, or maybe that's up to your own discretion. Was I actually muted for very long, or like was there like lots of things that I missed? Okay, maybe wait for that, but in any case, moving on to the next thing. Not long. Okay, that's I'm glad. So something that could be nice here as well. If I were to switch back again. Yeah, I'm seeing the candles right here. The only thing that maybe that could be nice to have here as well is basically making it so that the candles here have this maybe fake like fake emissive on them, so it looks like it is having this sort of let's say the look the candles have when it's burning. So we have, let's say, can I pick here? So you have a little bit of the look that it's, yeah, sort of that, like the look when you shine like a shine a flashlight through maybe some skin or maybe behind your earlobe. That's sort of looking like that, if you will. You can kind of see that the sort of the placement of the lights is not like positioned like well, if you will, in each candle. Yeah, it also depends on what kind of light this is, of course, because I would really be very careful with this. Yeah, lights are like very expensive, and if there's a way for you to fake this, always see if you can, because that can save a lot. Because yeah, like for example, what I actually wanted to go towards as well, could maybe be nice that for example you have some, let's see, maybe some lingering smoke here, or maybe some of the candles have just gone out. Could also be like a possibility. That's not the correct one. Yeah, just maybe very subtly like so. Oops. Yeah, something like this. Yeah, so for the braziers right here, kind of seeing that it's sometimes can fall apart a little bit, but I'm also seeing that the colors are not really matching as well. It just feels like a lot more saturated here as it is in comparison to like the actual light that is being shown here. Could also maybe be nice to have like some embers here, for example, to like every so often, like I kind of mentioned with with Alex, I would say to maybe also have some like bursts happen every so often. Just this little extra detail that could maybe help on like make it just a little bit more like believable, if you will. Yeah, I think this feels fine as it is. I think the only thing I'm not really sure about is to what kind of the like the blobs of like refraction are already adding to this. Maybe it feels a little bit too random. Yeah, it kind of depends, of course, on what you wanted to go for here, but kind of given the context, it's maybe a bit out of place. I think maybe as well that there could be some places where there could be some like more stronger, like let's say lingering energy that's emanating from these runes right here, because it all feels maybe a bit too uniform, and maybe the like amount of contrast that you have in between all of elements could maybe just be a bit more like upped, if you will. But yeah, that's like a very minute thing. Given, let's see, just looking at the time, like the one thing I just wanted to touch upon real quick as well is this one. Yeah, just to make sure that you already, of course, have the wake in here, and yeah, it's having a little bit of a offset towards the left, or at least it's favorable towards the like towards the left side. And I think it's mainly just a matter of also like having the like a wake like emanating from the front. One. Let's see. Just imagine that this is also underneath all the lily pads, but kind of this was kind of sort of the point, like right this. Maybe let's see what else could be done here. Yeah, could also maybe be that you have, let's say, some extra waves that are like sort of encapsulating the boat. Yeah, sort of like arising from the surface tension. But that's maybe just a very subtle thing. What I would overall say as well is to maybe as just a final point, I think it might be good to also have, let's say, the best things of your sketches be consolidated into like a sketchbook. But I think it's as well, given that you just want to show that this is like a thing that you like to do here. Yeah, that's really good to have this in, because it's also just really cool to see your like any traditional skills for. Yeah, that's basically count for anyone. Also, really good to see that you have the breakdowns in here, because I also saw this in here as well. If I'm not mistaken. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's just really cool to see. Yeah, and definitely keep on doing this if you can, because this is just just really nice. I think with that said, let's go back to this screen. Yeah, that's sadly the all the time we have. Thank you so much for watching again, and I will be back in a couple of hours again. So that will be around like 5 p.m. CET, 8 PST. So that will be the third session. Yeah. Thank you so much as well. And yeah, thank you so much again as well for all the all the people that were so kindly putting themselves their portfolio up for review. And yeah, with that I would say thank you so much again for watching, and yeah, see you in the next one. Cheers everyone. Bye bye.